I'm not quite sure how to state my question. It's just came to me a little while ago.
Co-creating at its best.
I've been through a bit of personal turmoil in regards to being past 20 years a healer, supposedly a healer. And I've come to a point in that process where I'm questioning the validity of it. In the sense that being a therapist, being a practitioner, a health therapist or a health practitioner, we have a tendency to base our focus on what is wrong.
Well, it's the first step in deciphering, isn't it?
But based on a lot of the work of Abraham, focus is very, very important.
Well, we agree that if you know what's wrong, which helps you to identify what you want, the sooner that you can turn your attention toward what you want, the better off you are. But we would not call it a wrong basis. In other words, when you think about it, it's sort of the way you all felt coming into this body to begin with. You knew there was contrast and variety, and you didn't say, I will stay away from it. You said, I will explore it, and out of it will be born clarity.
Okay, so my question very specifically would be, if I am focusing on what is wrong, am I not perpetuating that?
Yes, you are.
How is it possible to do it otherwise?
Well, give us an example of someone that you are chatting with about something, and we'll show you.
Chatting.
In other words, in your therapy, in your...
Working with, let's say, for example, a heart condition, or working with head injuries, brain trauma, things like that. If there are, there have been organ damage, vascular damage.
Well, would you say that in every case you're looking for solution?
As much as I possibly can, yes.
So isn't that looking toward what is wanted? In other words, there isn't anything wrong with assessing where you are in your quest for a solution.
But isn't it also the basis is focusing on reinforcing what is wrong and trying to fix what is wrong, which will attract more of the same?
You are absolutely right, and it is what we teach, but we're wanting to soothe you for this reason. You heard us say already here today, this will make perfect sense to you as it unfolds. You heard us say earlier today that what you're living right now is the result of how you've been flowing energy. And so the trauma, the disease, the heart attack, the stroke, the getting run over by the truck, whatever happened was as a result of how you'd been flowing energy. So now it is illogical for a person in that condition to hear Abraham, brilliant and wise and loving as we are, to say, just think about what you want, because they are in a situation where the trauma has culminated and they're not exactly in the place. In other words, it's hard enough to have been beating the drum of something for a while and then let go of that and find a thought that feels better. But if you've been doing it long enough that now you have a manifestation that you're dealing with, it's even harder for you to find the improved thought. And so what we're suggesting is there's plenty of room for very well-meaning and effective caregivers to be there tending to the trauma that has been created, giving them a platform of stability. And once that stability is achieved, then you can begin helping them to find the projection of thought that will serve them better as they continue to create. In other words, we are so appreciative of people that work in those traumatic environments that provide a level of stability for someone while they get their vibrational bearings. It is helpful, as you are interacting with people, to let them know that it is your belief that everyone creates their own reality. And it is helpful, even if they're not ready to accept it, for you to say to them, I've learned from my own life that in all of this contrast and struggle and stuff that I've and you have lived, that out of it has been born clear, powerful desire that will serve us if we will let it. And say to them, I can feel that once you get through this, that there's going to be a turning point in your life, because very often that happens from those dramatic things. When you really know what you don't want, you really know more clearly what you do want. And so you have plenty of opportunity to treat the symptoms of what's wrong in a very action-oriented way at the same time that you are guiding them toward more life-giving thought down the road.
Okay. Maybe one more.